I speak to a lot of colleges. I do that often. And I'm really, really scared of public speaking, actually. It's very hard for me. I don't know why. But I then looked up and I found out that speaking to the public is like one of the largest fear that the world has. So how it started, one day I was coming back from office and I used to live in the society which had a very small amphitheater kind of setting inside. And I'm a huge fan of ghazals and Urdu poetry and amongst other things. I'm passing by and I hear this beautiful sound coming out of this theater, and it's somebody is singing Iqbal Bano's very famous ghazal. And I'm like, wow, looks like there's a concert going, or at least somebody's playing that. I peek inside and there's a lady from my society just singing, and there's a big banner there, some musical group, and there are 15 people sitting and listening to her very patiently. And she is going off key some places, somewhere the lyrics are wrong, but she is going on at it. And I am like, wow. And then I am very nicely invited inside. Aiye, please come in, please come in. Please, do you want to sing? Do you want to join this? I'm like, what is it? And it's like, this is a society and we have a small singing group. You should try it. And I'm also a very big fan of Rafi and 50s and 60s and 70s. And I said, okay, but I've never held a mic in my life. And that was 2 years ago. And they said, it's not a big problem. It's just us society people. Who's going to know? Just come here and sing. We are here to just learn. I picked up the mic and my hands were shivering. My throat was dry. I used to think that I understand the surs and tals very well, too confident of myself. And all of a sudden I can hear myself sing and the sur is going somewhere. And then there's live music and, these two guys, and the tabla guy is looking at me that, dude, what are you doing? Please. I'm like, I know how the song goes. Mentally, I'm trying to communicate it via telepathy, that I know how the sound goes, but I can't help it. My voice is just going somewhere. It was terrible. It was terrible. I did not go back there for 3 weeks. For 3 weeks. I kept on passing week on week, and I would say, not this time, not this time. But then again, I was unfortunately caught. Arey, sir, where are you going? Please. After some time, it's very difficult to avoid people, and I was persuaded. And this time when I did it, it was a little easier. And that told me something about myself that I did not know. The best way to handle your own fear of something is to do it more often. Everybody has seen that in advertisements. A lot of motivational thoughts and speakers have gone ahead and said it. There are tons of books about it. But the joy of feeling it firsthand is something completely different. So I started doing that, and I realized that I really have a bad singing voice, but at least I could hold the mic and be confident on it. And then some college called me up and I went over there, did a lecture or something, and it was some 100 students. Gradually it became 1,000 students, and it has progressed ever since. Why am I telling you this is, I never thought I could do it. I never even thought that I should go and tell people on what I think. But sometimes things happen to you in life. How you stand up and respond to it is very important. And that is where I think you learn your own limits and your own capabilities. So this talk is about breaking your own barriers. And I work with businesses. We use a lot of analytical thought on how to grow a business, how to work around it. And so I after this incident happened where I learned that I could actually overcome my fear of public speaking and go over there and talk to people, I started looking at that, what exactly happened during that. And since then, I have always kept on monitoring my own behavior. Even now, I use props to dispel my fear. For instance, if I am speaking, generally I like to hold a hand mic, because I know that psychologically I am creating a barrier. It looks nice, but it's actually me. So it is my own little psychological safeguard. I keep on looking at my behavior. I always wear a jacket. I feel wearing a jacket on stage comfortable while talking to people because I know that somewhere that jacket gives me a sense of comfort and a sense of protection in my inner psychological feeling. What I'm trying to tell you is that most of the things that you're afraid of, if you sit back and if you do your own inventory of why things happen and look deep inside you, you will find the answers. I mean, we have great examples from history. Actually, in my college, one of my teachers gave this example and I have used it ever since. That there are a couple of ways of gaining knowledge on how you learn. There is one way where you hear other people, where you read books, right? And these are one ways of interacting and getting the knowledge from outside environment in you. And then there is a knowledge, the way of getting knowledge that has been in the Vedas, that is Manan and Chintan. If you see, Buddha did not have to go and listen to a lot of lectures. He did, but he did not find the answers he was looking for, which after he took all that knowledge and sat under a tree and thought over it, that the realization of all our pains and misery happened. There he found that the challenge we all face is the challenge of, anybody? Expectations. Expectations are the root cause of all misery. The things that we expect from ourselves versus the things we are capable of, there's always a gap in between them. And as the gap widens, as your expectation from life grows versus the capability that you have, as that gap widens, your misery widens. And as that misery widens, your barriers, things that are stopping you, they start popping up. And that stops you. But as I said, Buddha did not have to actually go ahead and read a lot of textbooks to find answers. He could find the answer within himself, and so can you. Which brings me to the second point. That expectation starts with your own understanding of you. You means, what do you expect out of yourself? But above all, how do you see yourself? How do you see your capabilities? If you see your capabilities are here, but they are actually here, there's a gap between your understanding and reality. And this is what will throw you completely off and make you sad. So, in 1943, there was a gentleman called Maslow who gave a very good theory. Most of the people in MBAs have read it time and again. I mean, it's the most overused theory. And he talked about that how do we, as people, motivate ourselves and what happens inside. We know intrinsically, we know what is right and what is wrong. I mean, it was, I think, Phaedrus. Yeah, it was Plato's book, Phaedrus, which says, what is right and what is wrong? Need we teach ourselves these things? Right, so we intrinsically know what is right and what is wrong, what moves us, but we did not have a model or a theory or an external model to look at. And Maslow gave that, a very simple one. So the model was, it's called Maslow's need hierarchy theory. Maslow says that you have basic psychological needs as an animal part of you that needs food, that needs shelter, that needs clothes. After you have done all of that, you start looking for safety, you start looking for family, friendship, which is the love and belonging stage. Then you go for self-esteem, then you go for self-actualization, which is kind of, if you see, you go from your own self to conquering the society, and from the conquering of society, you again go back to conquering, I think, eternity. Because if you see, self-actualization, I will come to it. But in simple words, if you see, in today's parlance, I am speaking at a college, right? Think of it like you have a phone and a battery and charger and apps, and then you get some screen guard and insurance and covers, And then on top of that, then you need friends on Facebook, because without that, that phone has no meaning. And on Insta and WhatsApp. And then you need more followers right there, Tinder right swipes. And if you're in group admin, then that's even more powerful, right? And then all of that is done, you realize all this is worthless, I should most probably go and study. That is self-actualization. Okay? Understood? So in our life, we also go through a similar phase, First of all, we crave for the phone, then we crave for a better phone, then after that phone, we crave for friends. We forget about the phone. We are like, Facebook mein somebody has not written to me, maine usko comment choda tha, and he did not reply back. Is he angry? Those becomes concern, and then we are like, yeah, everything's going fine, but this follower count is not increasing. I just have only 400 friends, and that guy came after me, and he has like 6,000 now. What is he doing that I am not doing? And that's how life progresses. That is what ambition is. It keeps on moving you forward, right? And so this is what Maslow in short kind of said. But if you actually look at I have a big problem that I cannot hold complex thought in my head. I actually end up simplifying it down to the dumbest possible level. That is my barrier as well. So if I simplify it down, we are talking actually about life. We are talking about comfort and quality of life. After you have life, and that is assured, you go for seeking these comforts. Once you are done with comforts and you think that either the life is enough or it's comfortable enough, you move on to social acceptance. You try to influence people around you. And then once you are done, you try to kind of be even more influential, and you start catering to your ego. How much respect are you getting back from the same, right? And then after all of this is done, you start working on legacy. If you look at any famous man in history, once they have covered all of these, they start building legacies, they start building schools and colleges, and you see a lot of these institutions, because then it becomes that I have been so lucky, I got so much, let me give this back to the society, right? And that is what exactly happens. But if you see, in effect, we move from death to immortality, and that is the human chase. All of us want to be immortal. All of us want to be gods. We want to do all the things that gods do. We want to fly like gods. We want to transport. Our science fiction is about that. And most of our stories and most of our aspirations are around what we thought gods can do and how can we become that. If you look at Hindu mythology, people have stood in penance for 10,000 years so that they never die. People have, and in every society in the world, this is the basic human condition. And when you travel this path, here you start finding a lot of barriers that stop you from doing that. I just remembered a sher that I think I might be remembering it wrong, but it is कि चाह होने ने बंदा कर दिया मुझको, वगरना हम भी खुदा थे अगर दिले बेमुअद्दा होता. That means कि I had these wishes and feelings, that is what has made me human, because if I did not have these wishes, maybe I would have been God. Anyways, coming back to. So the way you traverse, therefore, path is from, as I said, death, which is actually unknown. I mean, you are very fearful of this fact. And from there, you go to life. After you have lived life for some time, you get bored, you move, and there's some pain and discomfort that you face. You go out again. So these are the problem set and these are the solution set. And you keep on zigzagging between them. You go and you then improve quality of life. You get house and you get car. And after that has happened, you are sitting in a drawing room and thinking, what next? And then you feel, hey, maybe I had somebody to share it with. You feel loneliness. You feel the lack of people around you. You go out and you start working on this. Then with social acceptance comes rejection. People will reject. I mean, if you're interacting with people, you move to conquering that. After you have conquered that, you start feeling that, hey, I have all of this, but what after this? What after life? Who will remember me? And you start working on building your legacy. And that is how you work. And therefore, these are the motivator sets and these are the demotivator sets. The loss of this is as big a motivator as the gain. So what do you do then? So I talked about the problem set and the solution set, right? So what happens is when you face a problem in life, you try to go out and find more about it. I see my kid doing it, I'll tell him a small story about a ghost, and the next 3 hours will be, Acha, so where does the ghost come from? Okay, is there a ghost behind that curtain? So he's asking all of these questions, but in his mind there's a terrifying fear, yeah, that's making him gather more information. If you look at kids, it's very easy. I mean, kids, when we are all children, we have no fear. We have to be told, don't do that or else you will fall down. The kid doesn't listen, he falls down. Next time that association happens, that this guy says might be the truth. And soon, whatever I say has become the truth. So he stops experimenting. And then I am replaced by people with more authority. It becomes a school, it becomes social opinion makers, it becomes influencers, it becomes people who keep on telling them what is going to happen. An astrologer soon comes into play and he tells what is going to happen. And people stop experimenting with life. They just start believing that this is what is going to happen. And faith is kind of the root of this, a blind faith. If you believe in whatever people are saying and never experiment, you will have lots of barriers. So anyways, so that is how we do problem solving, right? We look at a life problem, we'll gather some information, we devise a solution, and we try that solution. If that works, we learn how it worked, we add some brownie points to our self-assessment, we grow our stature in our eyes, we think ourselves as smart, our feeling of net worth goes. If we fail, we subtract some brownie points from that self-assessment and we say, hey, we are not that good and we need to work hard. And this circle keeps on repeating throughout our life. Consciously, subconsciously, this is what you're doing. Over time, some people shorten this path by starting, and this is how a kid learns actually. But as we grow adults, this learning what works and what doesn't work, we start using the societal knowledge that's around us, from our teachers, from here and there. And therein starts the problem. Because all of it is somebody's truth, not yours. The sun rises, it will rise every day. Is it truth? Yes. But for you, yes it is. You have seen that also with experiments. But there are other things where that might be true for somebody else, not you necessarily. Right? So we keep on bringing from unknown to known. And all of this makes you look, how you look at a problem, how you find a solution, how and what you learn. These are the three things that will actually either make you or break you. And this is the difference between the world's biggest and greatest leaders, and this is the difference between the smallest of people. How you do this, and how you add to self-assessment. And whether that consumes you with fear or that makes you happy. Thank you.